I'm not going to say a single word about the Tennessee Titans record against the Indianapolis Colts because I was a punter, and there's no reason for me to talk about that. With that being said, we did not punt much against the Tennessee Titans, so you probably have no clue who I am to begin.
Look, I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, call it audible. Serving up them Hail Marys till the game over with the showstopper. So hot, you gotta blow on it. I said I'll huff and I'll puff, then I'll pass to my left while I'm looking to my right. Hit them right in the chest. It be looking like magic. Better give me the throne. I ain't talking about Patrick, but I rep my home. I'm never at the end of my zone. I'm bad to the bone. Eating up these pig skins like they chicharrones, and you a douche cabron. Mira, mira at the mirror on the wall. I'm the greatest of them all. They gon' put me in the hall. Your name is only written in a bathroom stall. Quit your stalling and make a play. My drive too long. Pop the clutch, I don't pump the brakes. I know what it takes to gain the muscle, get rugged. These butterfingers be fumbling. Squash the scrimmage and rub it in Robitussin. How I give them concussion. They seeing double, they rushing and pass the shovel, the dirt and rubble. I bury them under it. Stay in your huddle and get 10 yards back. Never turn your back. I'ma pull your flag. I go full contact. Out punch, out kick like a shotgun.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to the HorseShoe Mob Podcast. I know that Austin is not with us this evening, but I'm sure you're asking, who's this fella? Or if you already know this fella, you'd be like, well, we have Acosta on here. But you know what? We're going to get to that in a second. So before we do, first off, going to need to go ahead and just make sure that you know that you are now watching the HorseShoe Mob Podcast. We're talking to you everything Colts and making sure that we're slandering some Titans in there. You know, like I said, hey, by the way, happy retirement to Sadiq Charles, who randomly retired after drills today. So good luck with that. But yeah, I'm glad we can go ahead and just have that covered for this evening. In the meantime, let's just go ahead and just get to the guys so that we can get to our very special guest this evening. We have with us Josh Sr.
What's good?
All right. We have Harish Nakala.
Yo.
All right. And I'm Chris Jackson, as you know. But yeah, let's just get right into it. All right. Because like I said, we got a special guest on here. Very special member of the family. This is my fault. Because the thing is, we've been talking about having him on here for a minute, and I dropped the ball on that. So you know what? I'm man enough to say, my bad. So without further ado, we have the Sick Podcast Anvil Show's very own Acosta Medrano. Welcome, family. Welcome. Appreciate you being on with us. Yeah, just if anything, for those who do know. For those who don't know, tell the people about yourself and what you do. Tell them how you became a fan, and yeah, just tell the people about you.
I mean, my name's Acosta. Obviously, I go by Big Country to a lot of people. I became a Colts fan, I believe, late '97, '98, somewhere in that era, right when Peyton Manning came. I was getting to the Little League around that time. Played football through my collegiate years. In school, all the way up until I graduated high school. I grew up in southern Indiana, about 30 minutes north of Louisville, depending on – right now I live 30 minutes north of Louisville. But growing up, I was probably about an hour from Louisville, still in southern Indiana, a little town called Marysville, Indiana, little farming community. Love it, love the country lifestyle. But no, I became a fan watching, obviously, now Hall of Famer Dwight Freeney a lot. I studied him a lot, as a kid, playing that position a lot. So that really got me into the Colts, and my dad was telling me that Indiana had a professional football team. I was like, oh, yeah, who are they? And he said the Colts. So it's been that ever since, and fandom just grew from there, and really just started getting into everything. And after high school, I really lost my passion, rather, for football. I made some decisions that got me out of football. Went to college and everything. I'm not going to, obviously get into all that BS. We're going to try to stay up to it here, but reigniting my passion, I met, Patrick Dorfline, he's been on the show a few times. also a co-host of Sick Podcast, Anvil Show. I got in contact with him via, Facebook and everything, watching D-Line Sports when he had it. Mm-hmm. And it just really reignited my passion. And just talking about football with someone who's like-minded, about Colts football. Because even down here in Southern Indiana, the Colts ain't very prevalent. It's like a lot of Bengal fans, a lot of, at the time, Rams fans, Titan fans, So the Colts weren't really relevant down this way. So it was just great to get with somebody who's like-minded with Colts football. And then it just grew from there. I mean, he needed a tailgate spot. I just got my season tickets, and he was wondering if he could come hang out at the tailgate with me, which it ain't what it is now. If y'all ever been to a Anvil tailgate, the Forge tailgate, it was really just the back of a pickup truck, a pop-up tent, and a grill. It's really all it was. But
that's all you need, really. I mean, let's be honest. those are literally the essentials.
Those are the best ones.
Oh yeah, but now, I mean, we have. I'll get into that in a second, but. He just needed a spot. He wasn't going to games. He wasn't a season ticket member yet either. He was just going to games, walking around, talking to people. He'd go to some games, but he just said he needed a central location. I was like, well, I got a tailgate, just a half a block up from the stadium, come on over. And the friendship just grew from there, and ideas just started blossoming. I wanted to do my own podcast, and I did call it the Anvil at the time. And around that same time, my first show as the Anvil was with Claude Wesley Oliver, who's also our co-host on the Sick Podcast Anvil Show, who's also here for a couple times. And my first show was actually going to be with him as a special guest, and I brought him on, and then Pat, I brought Pat on as well, the three of us, and boy, it just, for some reason, it just took off, and the rest is history. We just developed this chemistry together, and became a brotherhood. Obviously I look back now and it's crazy how far we've come. That was going on 2.5 years ago now. So a lot's happened. We started a tailgating little venue outside where we originally had our tailgate there on Meridian Street. Got an RV now. We have an Anvil that people can actually come out and hit. We take Anvil shots off of it. It's just a good time, man. And now this year we're officially in touchdown now. So
nice.
It's just a dream coming to fruition, and with people I consider my brothers now, and such a short amount of time, and it's just great, man. My passion got reignited, and I couldn't be happier with where I'm at.
No, that's amazing. That's awesome to hear, because, like I said, it's always good to hear about it. So, that's awesome. So, well, first off, once again, welcome to have you. Once again, my bad.
No, your fault. You're good.
So just want to go ahead. We make sure that we put that out there. And before we go any further, because I said,
since you did that, all of us got to take an Anvil shot.
Oh,
two
Anvil shots.
Oh, hey, whoa, we're taking shots.
Yeah, we need at some point we got to set that up.
Oh well, if y'all ever in Indy, we got to do it right. We're not just gonna do it here. You got to come to the Forge tailgate. We'll do an Anvil shot off the Anvil. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're all planning a trip to meet up together down there anyway, so that'd be a great time to do it.
Hey, y'all have a spot there, to come party and eat. I got a menu set up and everything. I'm actually the cook. Me and my buddy Daniel, we're gonna be cooking up some great food. Like week 1, we have Texas style brisket sliders with coleslaw, and mac and cheese and stuff. Man. So.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Coleslaw, mac and cheese. Week 1 might be.
I don't know too much about the coleslaw, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now. But we're gonna talk about that later. Okay, coleslaw's never been my thing, but you know what? Like I said, everything else sounds immaculate. So so we're just gonna go with that.
Special.
And by the way, just want to say welcome into Austin. Austin is with us now, so welcome, Austin. Appreciate you.
Yeah, what's up?
So like I said, before we go any further, make sure that you are going to www.fanbattlesports.com. That's where you can go for all your Colts related things. Of course, you can see the other AFC South teams, but you don't go there for them. You go there for us, and we appreciate y'all for that. So definitely make sure that you're going to www.fanbattlesports.com. That's where you'll be able to see articles, past episodes, bios, all that good stuff, just so that you can go ahead and just keep up. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and just get right into it. Akasa, I know that you were just at training camp this past weekend, right?
Absolutely.
All right, fantastic. So we're gonna pick your brain because I had a chance to see it. You had a chance to see it. So, the training camp impressions so far. And like I said, I'm going to start with you just based on what you've seen. I'm going to say even just over this past weekend, like what were some of the things that you've seen, like some of the things that you have seen that have been concerns that maybe are just like, oh, okay, that shouldn't be a concern now, or, just what have you seen so far?
Believe it or not, brother, is a lot. There's been a lot of really hiccups, a lot of rough spots. Last Sunday when I was there was not a very good training camp. Anthony Richardson was out throwing his receivers by 5 to 7 to 10 yards, even on the run, which he's known for. Mm-hmm. Defense was offsides a lot of neutral zone infractions as well. Offensive line, several false starts. It's just, I'm glad that this is actually happening now rather than later. They're just antsy. It's not, they haven't had the pads on for very long. They're just antsy. They're ready to go. They're fired up. Obviously, we've seen Pitt, into a couple scuffles too. Everybody's just antsy, man. It's just early training camp days. But the time before that, there was a lot of promise. Anthony Richardson was dialing it up. Obviously, A.D. Mitchell looking great. Defense is looking shut out. Hopefully, they keep that energy throughout the season because I know they tend to slow down a little bit. Hopefully the offense can, handle that a lot more because the defense was obviously on the field a whole lot more on the field than offense was last year and previous years, actually. So, and, obviously Latu, man, that dude's just a beast. We haven't seen the speed and agility like that from a defensive end in Indy since the Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. So, I mean, there's so much to talk about with this team right now. And, I mean, we actually had Robert Kravitz on our show last week, and he was talking about this is the best team of the ballot era, and I couldn't agree more. The talent's there. I mean, we have a chance to go far, but I mean, we just got to work out those little kinks, the things that's going to cost us games in the long run. So as long as we work on that, and they're diligent enough, we're good, man. We're going to be really good. Training camp is looking promising overall, though. They had one bad training camp day so far, in my opinion, which I'm not worried about. You're going to have hiccups.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, I asked because you had the chance to see it. You had the chance to kind of witness it based on like what you've seen. Now, just kind of going over to the flip side of things, like what we've seen in terms of clips, what we've heard in terms of the rumors, like, and I'll go ahead and just ask the guys about this. It's just like, what have you seen in terms of the trends or players that we've been looking at, players that we were just like, all right, this person's going to have a big year, that we're just like, okay, yeah, you're like, now things seem like they're coming along. And like I said, I'll just go ahead and just start with whoever out of Harish, Austin, Josh. Who are some of the guys that you've just like really just been like, okay, I'm starting to hear a lot more buzz about him?
For me, I think I've heard a lot of people talk about Latu. They've been saying like he's getting sacks every day, and that's a really good sign because we get sacks, sure, but like it seems like he's getting there consistently, which we needed a lot last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Then Josh, Reese, what about y'all?
Go for it, Joe.
Same thing with Austin said, man. There's been a lot to. I think Buckner had a interview with NFL Network, and he said like a lot to getting like 1 or 2 sacks a day, which is impressive. Even though it's camp, but it's a small sample, but great things to come in the future.
Oh,
so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the biased other side of this, and I'm gonna say A.D. Mitchell. Listen, I'm not surprised by anything A.D. Mitchell is doing. I told you guys, I think he's going to end up being, one of the best better wide receivers in this core, right? Like I'm convinced A.D. Mitchell is going to be the other outside receiver, and I know they put Alec Pierce or A.D. Mitchell. Let's be real. It's going to be A.D. Mitchell. He's a do-it-all receiver. He can run routes. He's got insane speed. He's really big. He's got crazy hands. I mean, you guys saw the clip of him going up on a one-on-one and catching it, coming down to the ground and still holding on to the football. That guy is going to be – he's going to elevate this offense so much. I think Colts fans are going to realize how he kind of like completes this wide receiver core because you can no longer double Pittman because you got somebody on the other side that can do everything except just run a 9 route the entire game. So obviously I'm impressed with AD Mitchell. I've heard some good things about Jalen Jones too, and I've talked about Jalen Jones, how we need another outside corner to kind of step up. The secondary is still kind of out of the question because there's just
But we like the group we have.
There's just so much good about this secondary. So it's good to see Jalen Jones doing well. I think for Latu, it's not more that he's getting a lot of sacks. I think the bigger thing is Anthony Richardson called us out, is like he's getting there. He's providing pressure, and the sacks are great. Like I love hearing that he's causing sacks. HorseShoe wasn't sacks last year. HorseShoe was pressure, and hearing that Latu's able to jump off the line. There's a couple clips up there. Him even beating off Braden Smith, who's the right tackle of the team, and he smoked him, right? And there's a couple of those, and it's kind of scary on Smith's side, but it's also showing like the athleticism, the crazy freakish athleticism that Latu has, and that's more like bigger to me, like seeing is the fact that he's able to bring that consistent pressure, not necessarily sacks.
True.
Yep. Another thing I like to mention too, being a defensive end, you want to see a defensive end also can contain that outside edge. Yeah. The edge position is not all about rushing the passer and getting to the running back. It's also about containment. So that outside edge we know Latu's got that, dominant speed, that dominant low game as a defensive end, which is great to watch, great entertainment. But can he really contain? That's what I'm worried about the most. Everybody's seeing that he can pass rush. Great. I want to see if he can contain now.
Yeah.
That's going to be our big thing. We have some very speedy receivers this year in our schedule that we're going to be going up against, and they're not going to be going up the middle with that big defensive line that we have, or even going out on the slight edges with Latu and Queedy Pay out that way. They're going to want to go outside. So can he contain, and can he contain a screen as well? So it's going to be important. It's going to be something to watch.
Yeah.
Call out.
And I have to say one person that and this has probably been since we drafted him, that's been the most frustrating part, because he's somebody who had all this tremendous upside and potential, but just never got any usage. It's hearing about Nick Cross. Like Nick Cross, I'm going to say, has probably been like one of the more surprising names to hear, because of the fact that it's just like they're actually playing him in coverage. And I mean, it sounds like he's making plays. They said today he had like a diving interception. The last few days, he's actually been involved in multiple plays throughout the day. And I mean, to see him be able to just kind of go and do, exactly what it is that he was built to do. To me, it's just like that's somebody that me personally, I'm going to continue to watch out for, because we got promised a bill of goods when it came to him. And honestly, if Ballard isn't going to sign any safeties, then why the hell just not use the ones that you have currently? Especially since, you do have names out there still that you still have not signed. But, that's neither here nor there. We're not going to talk about that. Because
did you watch that clip about him saying that like nobody kind of won a job yet?
Listen,
yeah.
Are you trying to piss me off?
No.
Are you trying to piss me off? Like, first off, like, sir.
No. But that's good shit right there, though, because, I mean, dude, let that man get his chip on his shoulder. Let him go out there and compete now.
Yeah. I mean, it's only been a week, right? So I mean, we're very early in this. No, it's been 2 weeks. It's only been a week. So we're still very early in this training camp.
Yeah, training camp is going by so quick, though.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it has been 2 weeks. Just kidding. It has been 2 weeks. So,
man,
we're still. I think we'll find out a lot more about like where guys actually fall in probably after this weekend. I think we start joint practices tomorrow, because I haven't seen anything the first 2 days this week. We normally start Wednesdays, so I'm also curious to see what it looks like against other teams, because I think that's going to be a better, show on what this team has. But there's good, there's bad, and also, I've been arguing on Twitter because that's what I do best. You got to calm down, man. Like it's training camp. Like if AR goes 5 for 11 one day, it's not the end of the world. Like that's the other thing that people have. He's still only really played like maybe 4 games, and I get he's a second-year guy. Like this guy doesn't have a lot of playing time still. So yes, he's gonna have days where he looks like Superman because he's an athletic freak. And he's going to have days where he looks like not Superman because he's still young and he's still learning. And, there's still a lot going on. But I love the confidence that he exudes. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the interview that he did with Pivot yesterday. Pivot Podcast. That was an excellent interview. The guy just has a level of maturity that you don't expect from a guy at not just his tenure in the league, but his age. He's only like 21?
22.
22, yeah.
22.
So he's young, man. He's a very mature kid. I'm very optimistic about this offense and just him in general. I definitely could see the growth in him, and even though he didn't play much last year.
Yeah, and I think for me it's just like, yes, it's still very early in training camp, and I mean especially when it comes to quarterback, because I mean I don't know how many times we've seen it where it's just like there's teams that have been abysmal in training camp and lost games just for the simple fact that they're just trying to evaluate talent. And then we've had teams like the old Lions who were 4-0 in training camp. They're just like, this is the year they're going to turn it around. And the only wins that they got were in training camp. Or matter of fact, they got more wins in training camp than they did in the actual regular season. So, we're not going to – like I said, we don't want to do that. Also, and like I said, I'm not comparing him to him, just saying that this is what it is. But Pat Mahomes looked like absolute trash in his first full training camp as a starter years and years ago. That man, the reports were he completed 1 out of 4 passes and he threw 3 picks in a session. So, I mean, and like I said, we all know how that turned out. Once again, I'm not saying that because I'm not a Titans fan. Okay, I'm not going to compare our quarterback to Pat Mahomes because
you're not
because they were stacking the box with Derrick Henry. So let's just not do that because that's weird behavior. That is weird behavior. So we're not going to do that.
Don't get me started on that Tennessee quarterback situation, man.
Oh no, we're not going to because
Chris,
honestly,
tell him about the Jesus Christ comments.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that because the thing is, because I don't want, because we're not gonna talk about Mayo Jesus. We're not gonna talk about Mayo Jesus.
Can you tell me about it? Because I want to hear about it.
Yeah, like, Houston been calling CJ Jesus Christ.
Well, of course they of course they are. Of course they are. And and the thing is, this is how I know that my relationship with the Lord is getting better, because I was going to say something that would have been completely terrible, but like I said, I'm working on myself. I'm making sure that I do that. All I'm gonna say is that don't do that, because the thing is, it's just like if you start calling people Jesus Christ, it ain't Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ going to show you exactly who Jesus Christ is. So let's just go ahead and just make sure that we do that. We're not going to do that because that is nasty work. That is the nastiest of work. So yeah. So with that being said, hey, unofficial depth chart dropped today. So yes. So we got our first look at what the unofficial depth chart is going to be for this Sunday's game. And for those of you who had the chance to see, I'm sure that you were able to look and check out exactly who's going to go where. However, for those that didn't, some of the names that we see here, and mind you, these are just some of the guys that you'll see just starting out. Of course, Michael Pittman, wide receiver 1, because he's always been wide receiver 1, right, Harish?
Well, who?
Michael Pittman has always been wide receiver 1, right?
Yeah. Since forever. Since 1998.
Cool. Just making sure.
Forever.
I gotta mess with Harish every now and then because we had the wide receiver 1 talk for years and years.
I was great. I was right until you proved me wrong, though.
No, you weren't. But starting wide receivers are going to be Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, and Alec Pierce.
Ooh,
That's
Pierce.
awful.
Whoa.
Yo,
Whoa.
Pause.
completely by mistake.
That's not what we
Completely
meant.
by mistake. I'm sorry. I don't speak good English sometimes. But we got, and then at wide receiver 3, it's Alec Pierce or Adonai Mitchell. So right now it looks like those two are basically going to be competing for that wide receiver 3 spot still, because Adonai Mitchell has not made it easy for Alec Pierce, and that's a good thing because Alec Pierce needs to wake the hell up. Um, and then we have a starting O-line: Ryman at left tackle, Quentin Nelson left guard, Ryan Kelly at center, Will Fries at right guard, and Braden Smith at right tackle. Starting tight ends are Mo Alley and Kylan Granson. Anthony Richardson starting at quarterback, Jonathan Taylor starting at running back. On defense, Kwity Paye starting at end, Tyquan Lewis starting at opposite end. I guess that's going to be on the left hand side where Samson Ibuka might have been. By the way, fast recovery, Samson Ibuka. We know that you got the Achilles injury out for the season. Yeah, DeForest Buckner's at D tackle. Grover Stewart is at nose tackle. And then we have EJ and Zaire playing outside. Segan Alubi playing inside. Now, this is where it gets interesting because we've been talking about the secondary for forever. So we have Juju starting. Then we have Jalen starting. And then we have Kenny at nickel. Then we have Nick Cross at free safety and Julian Blackman at strong safety. So let's just go ahead because we done ran down a lot. Who's the most surprising for those that we see that are actually looking like they're starting on that unofficial depth chart versus the Broncos?
Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah.
Seriously, what are we doing with that guy? Why is he still on the roster? Honestly, should have been cut like 2 years ago.
I wouldn't say 2 years ago. That's
Nah, he should have been gone like 2 years ago.
I mean, it's been a conversation for about 2 years. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
What do you think, Acosta? What is your thoughts on the whole Mo Alley situation? Because we've seen it, and I get it, but it also kind of doesn't make sense because it's like keeping him on isn't matching the production that we generally are lacking. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
This the whole room is just so difficult, to really talk about for real. But as far as Mo Alley goes, man, I think it's just consistency at this point. He's been with the Colts for so long, and he's really I think he's a great blocker more than he is a good catcher because obviously he's not that fast. But I mean, I think this year actually is going to be a make or break year for him. There's so much young talent behind him with Jelani and Drew Ogletree. Shout out to Drew Ogletree, by the way. That's my boy. So, but Kylan, he's not no pushover either, being as small as he is, being that smallest tight end in the room. I mean, the competition's just there, man. And Mo Alley Cox I think his time's just, coming to an end in Indy, regardless if it's like a release or a trade. I think it's just consistency at this point. He knows the offense well. He's a great blocker. He does come up, I ain't going to say clutch, but he comes up with some good catches sometimes. But, his yards up your catch are not that great, which we need to see from these size of tight ends. But yeah, I think his time's ending in Indy pretty soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I was going to say, it's just like, even if he does prove something, it would have to be an absolutely spectacular year to even warrant having him on still, because I believe it's just he's 30 with a contract that he hasn't played up to. I mean, like I said, it's just it would take probably, hell and high water for him to stay on past this year, because behind him, you have a bunch of guys who are under, 26 gunning for that spot. So, if you're not really proving anything, anybody can basically take that spot if you're not really doing anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I do think right now on the chart he's only starting because I think John is still recovering. I think Mallory is still recovering. So he's just by default he's the top guy. And I think Ogletree missed a lot of time and got suspended, so like this. So they not gonna thrust him in the starting job yet.
yeah. But you know what? It's funny that you mentioned all those guys because I think the only person who really has kind of struggled a little bit at times to find their footing was Jelani Woods. But I mean that's coming back after not really having anything football related for as long as he did.
Right.
And I mean, it's just like it's having to establish that chemistry. Whereas somebody like Granson had the chance to play with AR last season.
Right.
Mallory had the chance to play with AR last season. Even Mo Alley had the chance to play with AR last season. Now, to me, the leader in that group is going to be Kylan Granson because, I mean, he was able to kind of play with him consistently going into the chat as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's hard to kind of gauge exactly where it is that, this group is. But if I'm being honest, I feel like Juju Brents is going to be the surprising one in this group because I think you give him a chance to kind of play with the ones. And I mean, Denver doesn't necessarily, I think they still have, what's the name? Cortland Sutton, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, if he gets the opportunity to play against somebody like him, I think that's going to be a good indication of exactly where he is and what it is that he's going to be doing or what he's going to be capable of. So, I mean, I think that's going to be a good indicator of what we have in corner. Because we might just all be overblowing it when it comes down to the fact that, we need veterans in the secondary, especially if he comes out and he balls out this week. I think he's going to basically start to solidify himself as a guy who could easily come in at cornerback and just say, hey, I'm here. So that's what it is.
I mean, definitely. I mean, mark my words, Juju Brents will be our guy at cornerback. It's just you got to give him time.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
The time right now is just the name of the game right now is just patience with this young core. And I mean, I really think after what happened, what conspired, really, Nick Cross, man, like I'm expecting big things from him. After what was said, these players are just so competitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being a competitor, hearing that type of thing, because and we don't know what's being said in the locker room. One-on-one with these guys either. We don't know what Gus Bradley is telling him either. And with with obviously all due respect to him, but it's just like, that's going to put a chip on his shoulder. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to be surprised if Nick Cross shows out a little bit this year.
Yeah.
I think the other interesting thing is the other defensive end spot with Taquan Lewis and Dio. I think that's going to be very interesting. Obviously, with Samson and Bukum out with the Achilles, Taquan Lewis is getting another opportunity, and we've seen Taquan do some really good things at that spot. But we also seen Taquan Lewis get really hurt and the last 2 years, right? And again, freak injury things, it happens. I'm a big Taquan Lewis guy, so I love seeing that he's back there at the top, climbing back up the mountain once again, man. Taquan Lewis. And then it'll be interesting to see if they, what do they do with Latu? I mean, they got him listed behind Kwity Paye. I thought that was very interesting, that they wouldn't have him listed on separate sides. But I guess it's just week one, and we'll see how things play out. But hey, Taquan Lewis climbing up the mountain again, and then the inside backer is very interesting. Olubi getting the start there, so we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, you know what? It's the linebacker spot outside because I mean we talk about speed, we talk about Zaire, but I think the one thing that we kind of just overlooked was that inside backer. And I mean, like I said, in this 4-3, it's just like we're probably going to be seeing a 4-3. That Sam spot is going to be just very important because I mean, I'm pretty sure that Grove and Buckner are going to make sure that they're just clogging up the middle. So, I mean, the thing is, it's just like Alubi, I can see him just having to kind of play out and maybe play a little bit of zone, maybe have to flare out a little bit because of how often he's going to have to possibly just go into coverage, especially with the teams that we're playing this year. Because, I mean, we're going to be playing against teams that, have the running backs to be able to do it. I think we play against the Lions later in the year. And, I mean, you look at the Lions, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, who is a home run threat in the run and the passing game. And then, we still have to go against guys like, Tony Pollard or, whatever it may be in regards to those running backs, Joe Mixon. So, I mean, we're going to be going up against people where that linebacker spot is going to have to make sure that they are well-versed, not just in tackling, but also in coverage as well. Seeing as how if the run is successful, they're going to have to do something else.
I mean, it's all going to come down to coaching.
Oh, yeah.
Gus Bradley is going to have to really dig deep in his defensive playbook this year. We talked about it on, the Anvil show and everything, that Gus Bradley could be on the chopping block after this year. He's got to start changing things up. I mean, we didn't hardly blitz at all. We didn't blitz hardly at all last year, right? So it's just like, if you're not going to blitz, heavy containment is what you have to do. And the receivers line up 10 yards, or the backs line up 10 yards off of the receiver is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah.
And, because, even in Little League, you're taught to check a receiver at the line during a pass play. It's just what it is. You know what I mean? So it's just like, come on, man. Like, it's fundamental things. We got to get this shit together.
Yeah.
I agree, man.
Yeah. And that's why I'm because I was talking about this earlier today, how, Gus Bradley, I think deep down he knows that he's kind of coaching for his job because, like I said, we can talk about the sacks numbers all we want, but the problem is that those sacks amounted to nothing. I mean, yeah, it's just like you break a franchise record, fantastic. But what good is getting a sack on one play if you're letting up a 40-yard pass on the next play, and then that completely erases all the progress that you just made on defense? And, I mean, Gus Bradley is responsible for both. So, there has to be some type of change. Otherwise, he's going to be gone.
Don't like the question for the panel here. Dude, don't y'all think it's funny that he was known for coaching the Legion of Boom?
Yeah, we said it all the time.
In Seattle, and like in this, even I know they're young and they're trying to adapt to the NFL ways, but he got the size that he wanted in these corners, but yet he's not taking advantage of it like he did in Seattle. I mean, come on, dude, come on, you're better than that. That's the frustrating part. You're better than that.
Is he though? So there's two things to this, right? He coached the Legion of Boom. How long was that ago? Was that at this point? 10 years ago?
11 years.
Now you got to think about.
Excuse me.
That team was very talented, but also the game was very different back then, right? Even 10 years ago, the game was different. I don't think his coaching style has evolved with how much the game has changed in the last 10 years.
That's the frustrating part about it.
That's the big indictment on Gus Bradley is, he's got all these big corners. The problem is, big isn't speed, and every wide receiver you face is like, runs a 4.3, 4.4, 4.5. Hell, there's one now that runs a 4.2. So it's like, these big wide receivers jamming guys at the and then the rules have changed so much. So. I get that he coached the Legion of Boom, but I don't think he's adjusted well to how much the game has changed in the last decade. And I agree with you. I think it's very frustrating to see.
Yeah, and let me also just make two quick points. So it was brought to my attention today because we were talking about the same thing with Gus Bradley. So Dan Quinn actually was the author of the Legion of Boom. Gus Bradley coached it for 1 year. So really, it's just like he's gotten a lot of credit for the Legion of Boom when Dan Quinn was actually the one who basically was one who just came up with that. So
that's a good point.
That makes things interesting because it's just like, dang, okay, we've been giving him credit for something that he didn't necessarily put together himself, which makes it a little bit worse because now it's like, now we see it. But then,
well, thanks for sinking our confidence even more. We appreciate you.
Yeah. So what has he even done?
That's a great point, though. I mean, it really is because I wasn't aware of that. I really wasn't, but at the same time, you think a coach, an NFL coach has to adapt, right? You know the talent that's there. You've seen what talent that you were given. You carried on with it. You were successful with it. Why can't you carry that to other teams that you were with?
Well, because the problem is because of adaptation. Because the problem is that he hasn't adapted it well. There was a time when, the Legion of Boom, and this was something that we saw firsthand. We saw that the way that you attack the Legion of Boom is that you get smaller, speedier guys to go ahead and just, pit up, or I'm going to say work around the defense like the same way. And, of course, we're going back. T.Y. Hilton, for example, going against that same Legion of Boom, he was able to kind of weave in and out because he was a smaller guy who was able to catch the ball in stride, and he was able to make sure that he was fast enough to get past guys like Sherman and Chancellor, but then he was also shifty enough to make sure that he's weaving in and out of that cover 3 as they're playing it. So, I mean, he showed exactly how to be able to beat it, but the problem is that now, guys like T.Y. aren't an anomaly. T.Y. used to be just somebody. It was T.Y. and Deshaun Jackson and maybe, 2 or 3 other guys who were just like smaller speed guys. Now, everybody's fast. And now you can't really play defense like that. You pretty much just have to make sure you just cover them and then you just play in stride. But the problem is that now this defense that he's running is designed to be a more physical defense where you can just let them play on their own. And that hasn't translated over 11 years later because the game is different now than it was in 2013.
I mean, you definitely got to be more strategic in your play nowadays.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's really no strategy other than play cover 3 and then everybody just stay in their spots, and then wherever they get the ball, wherever the other team gets the ball, they get the ball. So
and you just have to hope Daryl Baker can tackle. See, it's simple.
That goes. I mean, that really goes into like the league as far as like officiating and all that type of stuff too.
Oh yeah,
defensive players are scared to play aggressive nowadays. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
You can't be physical like you could 10 years ago, 20 years ago, especially 40 years ago. You can't be physical like that anymore. And it's that's a whole different topic. But it's a crying shame. It's a physical sport. It's meant to be violent.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you also have to remember that the league makes more money when Justin Jefferson makes a play than if Jalen Ramsey does. So let's just be like completely honest.
Untrue. That's very true.
I mean, it's a very offensive focused league.
Sure.
But, I mean, and I don't know who all here played football growing up, but I was always taught offense wins games, defense wins championships.
Yeah.
That's I was a defensive minded guy. Yeah. But that's just what I was taught. And it is. I mean, you don't stop the offense. Guess what? It's going to cost you a game. It's going to cost you a championship. So, I mean, it's just, but if you're afraid to be physical anymore, and football was always, to me, imposing your will on another man or another team, and taking their will from them. People are afraid to do that now, I think. There's so much great talent out there, yes. The game is evolving, yes. But you can't physically impose your will on another team or another man like you could 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the rules have definitely changed for sure, and that's impacted that as well. But again, it goes back to adapting. There's still ways to do it. You just have to. There's teams that get it done. You just have to adapt.
Yeah. Yep. But so with that being said, saying what we're saying, I'm gonna say who is a player that, and like I said, it can't be anybody that we've mentioned already. Who's a player that we would like to potentially see, I'm going to say, have a great rest of the training camp and potentially break into that starting lineup?
Ooh.
That is a very good question.
Yeah, because I don't see anybody that.
I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say Kylan Granson. I'd like to see him solidify himself as tight end 1 because I truly do think he is that good. I've been on the Kylan Granson boat, train, ship, car, whatever you want to call it, for a long time. ever since they drafted him. I was like, wow, if they can use him right. And I think it's a two-way street, right? I'd like to see him elevate them himself. I'd also like to finally see Steichen, which I think he's capable of, use him correctly so that he can have the opportunity to elevate himself. Because once you got a guy that can catch the ball, especially at the tight end role, and get you extra yards off the catch, you're just adding another dimension to the offense that the defense to worry about. And being able to catch the ball in space and get extra yards after the catch is what Kylie Granson specializes at. So that's the sole reason why Chris Ballard drafted him. And so I'd like to see Shane Steichen utilize him that way, and I'd like to see Granson be able to take advantage of that and elevate himself into more of a solidified starter for this offense, and bring yet something else you have to help defend, as if a defense doesn't have enough to think about already.
Okay, all right. Fair. I like that. What about the rest of you guys?
Yeah, outside of the guy I already mentioned, that's somebody else that I think. I mean, we did mention AD Mitchell could possibly take over that obviously number 2, but I don't see anybody off this list that would change and should be starter.
Okay.
For me, it's not just one person. For me, it's going to be the whole offensive line unit.
Okay.
They have with having JT and AR in that backfield, they have to do their job. And we drafted great players that are capable of doing that. We do have great players now who start for that line, but they have to prove it now. They just absolutely have to prove it overall. They have to improve. They did say we had one of the top offensive lines in the AFC, but as everybody knows, talk is talk until it happens on the gridiron, right? So It's just, man, like, get out there and prove it now. Like, be that best offensive line you can be. You have the size, you have the agility, you have the physical capability of being a dominant offensive line. Go do it.
Okay. Austin?
Yeah, so the guy I'm going to mention, I don't necessarily want him to take over the starting role. I want him to, improve and be ready to play if we need him. And that's Dallas Flowers. I've heard he has made some good plays, but coming back from an Achilles injury is always, people have questions, and I'm just hoping that he continues to elevate himself, and when he's on the field, make plays.
Okay. I'm gonna go completely left field. I'm gonna go Will Mallory, and only reason why is because with Mallory, I really do feel like last year, of course, was just it's an injury year. It's a little bit tougher. But the thing is, I think he actually could potentially end up being an X factor in the passing game specifically because of the fact that he does have sneaky decent speed. But he's somebody that, like I said, if he gets the reps, I believe if he stays healthy, he could be somebody who's just kind of shocking, who would be able to go ahead and just do actually pretty decent numbers in the offense. So for me, I hope that Mallory stays healthy. So, hopefully he ends up being able to, just take that spot. So, or not take that spot, but it's just hopefully just work his way up the depth chart. And like I said, just hopefully take Miley's spot. Yeah, that's the spot. Okay. Take Miley's spot.
Did you also notice, Chris, at camp that there was a lot of 2 tight end sets that we're doing this year?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I mean that's a Steichen thing. We know that's going to happen because we
have such a deep tight end room as well. He's planning on keeping quite a few tight ends for this double tight end set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's they're going to have shared roles, but it's just who's going to be that guy? That's going to be the question.
Absolutely. Oh, and Tracy says, "What's up, Chris and Acosta? What's going on? What's going on?" So as far as the actual information goes, or as far as what we have, it looks like I said, I training camp. I think this first game is going to be very telling. I hope that we don't have a situation like what we had with Mike Strawn, where we just literally just get to see guys in preseason and then we never see them again. So, I mean, they end up in the practice squad shadow realm. But I mean, ultimately, like I said, we'll see what happens. But with that being said, we are actually going to be getting out of here. So I'm gonna say, Costa, tell the people where they can find you, social media, or anywhere else for that matter.
Social media wise, guys, you can find me on Facebook, Acosta Madrano, aka Big Country on Facebook, on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it nowadays. It's at Big Country Colts. If you're happen to be a TikTok lover, you can find me at Big Country Anvil. On TikTok, I post, on TikTok there, I post pics of what I do here soon, with the season coming up. Going to be posting a lot of tailgate food. A lot of my videos right now having to do with chugging beer. not gonna lie. I love, I'm obviously a beer drinker. I'm drinking some right now. So, but just hit me up, guys. If you happen to come to a game, hit up the Forge Tailgate in Touchdown Town this year. Come have an Anvil shot, have some awesome food. Be sure, like, subscribe, follow Sick Podcast Anvil Show as well. Got to give my own boys a shout out. Great group of men. Glad to be a part of them. But yeah, man, we're just looking forward to the season and seeing everybody.
All right. And fellas, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at CookieAustin2.
Okay. Harish?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at the Uncle Gandhi. And then also, obviously, you can find me and my boy Tim Wayne on the Thursday night show, Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast, where we've got a lot going on this week. Find us there on Thursday nights. And then find me every now and then on the main show on Sunday nights. Football season's back, so there's definitely lots to talk about all over the Fan Battle Network. So definitely tune into all of our shows there as well.
All right. Josh?
You can find me on Twitter at Who Is Josh Senior.
All right. And you can find me on Twitter also at CJ Colts Fan. Make sure that you are tuning in. Other than that, people, have a great rest of your week. Stay cool. Anybody who's dealing with inclement weather, please stay safe. And we will talk to you next week. Oh, wait, Acosta, I think you're muted.
I actually have one more thing before we get out of here.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Uh-oh.
Go Colts, baby.
Oh, he's shotgunning. Okay, there we go. There
I
it
was
is.
expecting it. I was expecting it.
Cheers,
Yeah.
everybody.
There we go. See, look, now you can go to sleep on a good note, right? Take a well-concentrated nap. Well, listen, people, on that note, we are definitely out of here now, so have a great rest of your evening. We will see you later, and as always, please remember, Sam loves Jalen Rams.